Goodness, what a needlessly confrontational title. Almost as if I was trying to bait people into clicking on the video. I believe the phrase is "don't hate the player, hate the game." In the interests of calming the many fans of Holborn who are no doubt incandescent with rage at my insolence, I should explain what I mean. Holborn was built in 1906 for the Piccadilly line, or the Great Northern Piccadilly and Brompton Railway as it was known then. This was one of the lines owned by Underground Electric Railways of London, and these stations had a very distinctive style. They were faced with glazed oxblood tiles, which immediately made them stand out without being garish, and gave the network a delightful Art Nouveau feel. Holborn has never had those tiles. Now, why is that? Well, you see, it's all to do with this street here. This is Kingsway, part of a major north-to-south thoroughfare. It's a relatively recent development, or at least recent in London terms. Back in the day here being the period up to the end of the 19th century, this area was largely residential and largely slum dwellings. So was much of the West End at this point. It's hard to believe now, but places like Covent Garden and Seven Dials were considered very lower class and no doubt hotbeds of immorality. At the beginning of the century, the London County Council decided to redevelop the whole area. The slums had to go. The old streets were demolished and a new highway was driven through. There are still a few remnants of the old Holborn, but the area is otherwise pretty unrecognisable compared to how it was. The road was opened in 1905 by King Edward VII, who had no doubt spent many a raucous night out around here in his younger days. He is the king after whom Kingsway is named. The buildings along Kingsway were intended to be very grand and respectable. London County Council required that all the buildings be faced with stone. None of this racy terracotta nonsense. So the mighty UERL was forced to make an exception to their rule. And that is why Holborn is so boring. Hi all. Hope you enjoyed this stony-faced episode of Tales from the Tube. If you did, please give generously by hitting the like button and maybe even subscribing if the mood takes you. And I'll see you again soon for another Tale from the Tube.